I made a video some time ago about how I don't like onslaught system. And there's been a lot of counter arguments on the YouTube comments. And the main argument is that onslaughts are required to keep the player to keep the player to play stealthy. And if he's not stealthy enough, he gets punished with an onslaught. Now on the surface, I think this is a good argument. You have a stealth system in the game, and there has to be some backup to motivate the player to be stealthy. However, I think there's some flaws with the onslaught systems here. Okay, so what is an onslaught? An onslaught is usually 10 to 20 aliens attacking you. Okay, that means the game is built around throwing at least 10 aliens at you when you're not stealthy enough. Now, my question is, why not just send one alien or two aliens for an onslaught? Why 10? Why 20? Now, on the surface, the argument I'm just making sounds ridiculous. If you know the game, one or two aliens are not going to make a dent into a Marine squad. At least not in a highly equipped Marine squad. And let's go back to the movies. Okay, in the second Alien movie, there's rarely more than, I think, ever 5 aliens on screen. And I think there's a production reason for that, because I think they never had more than 5 complete alien suits. So in each shot, there's a maximum of 5 aliens, even if they simulate larger hordes. However, in other scenes of the movie, like early when they sneak into the atmospheric processor, when they get ambushed, it's usually 1 or 2 aliens grabbing a Marine and then chaos happening. Okay, so even a second movie that is loaded with kinetic action, they create tension with 1 or 2 aliens on screen. And in the first movie, it's 1 alien. And if you play Alien Isolation, how many aliens are required in Alien Isolation to keep the player scared out of their minds? It's just 1 most of the time. So let's go back to my proposition. Why not just use 1 or 2 aliens instead of complete onslaught? Now, again, this sounds ridiculous because 1 or 2 aliens won't do much to Marine Squad. However, the reason for that is because the game has additional systems that are built, I think, after they built the onslaught systems, which precludes 1 or 2 aliens even being interesting to the player. I think that's a mistake in the game design. So, for example, it's the alien aggressiveness tape. It tells you when an onslaught is happening and how angry the aliens are currently and whether they're hunting you, which means the game tells you, okay, we're looking for you right now. I think that's a mistake. That information shouldn't be this openly plastered on the screen to the player to see right away. That's something the player should find out for himself. And I'll get to that in a moment. But the second problem is the motion tracker as it works. Currently, it's a 60-meter safety bubble that updates almost instantly and shows you through a wall all aliens, even those supposedly ambushing in vents. And it's a really an ambush if you can see it. Okay, so how about changing that? And don't expect it to be changed for the base game because it's already built around all of that. How about changing it for possible sandbox mode DLC or a sequel? Or some alternative game mode? So let's try 2 things. Remove the alien aggressiveness tape. Oh, actually 3 things. Well, 2.5 things. Remove the aggressiveness tape, okay? So the player, at no point in the game, the player knows how angry the hive is and whether the hive is looking for him or not, which means you don't see any of that, okay? And the second thing is, second and a half thing, change the motion tracker to be something more realistic. So it's not a 60-meter safety bubble instantly updates, it's something different. Okay, let me show you. In the game, there's already functionality for flashlight. You hold left mouse, and it's a beautiful system. The light looks beautiful, but you rarely ever use it because you can just press M to see the items you can pick up. Okay, now let's imagine the motion tracker would be an item that you can activate. Like, okay, press space and you have the activate motion tracker. Then one of your Marines picks it up in his left hand, or if he's a right-hander, and holds it while still being able to hold his primary weapon, but shooting at low accuracy. Then he's holding it. Then you can tell the Marine you hold control, left click. I'm holding control just for demonstration. And you can move it like the flashlight up and down. And when you let go, like this, then the Marine will keep it pointed this way, like in absolute direction, which means if you move around the map and rotate the camera, he will always keep it pointed in this direction. And then he'll have like 180 or 160 degrees cone of where the motion tracker can see something, okay? And the motion tracker would then be on the screen here with a basically half circle. It would update much slower. It could be an upgrade, like you have the bip, and then you see the alien blips basically glowing or moving things. And it would be obscured by walls, like a radar system. Not completely obscured, but somewhat obscured through thick walls, okay? And what would that do? Basically, it would bring the suspense back into the game, because as a player, you walk through the map, and at no point you actually know what type of danger you're in. You shot a few ends on the way. You don't know if there's a hive onslaught coming. There's no music ramping up, nothing. Just you're walking through the map, and the only thing you hear, the only music, quote unquote, is you're going through the map. It's really quiet for a long time. You're wondering, okay, wait a minute, I'm going to sweep the motion tracker in that direction. Then suddenly you see like a large amount of blobs behind the wall, appearing, disappearing, appearing, disappearing, as they ever get closer. And then you panic because the onslaught doesn't get told to you, that thing, and it doesn't get told to you 60 meters away. It might be 20 meters away, and you only just noticed that. And imagine the amount of panic you would get from that, the amount of gameplay intensity. Because then it's up to you to figure out whether you're being onslaughted or not. And the onslaught itself doesn't have to be a 10 or 20 alien group. It could just be the alien hive starting to trickle in, 5 aliens here, maybe 5 aliens there, and it would slowly ebb and flow. But you as a player, you would never know what type of danger you're in, okay? And there's a final benefit to that, okay? So for example, now this is late in the game. I'm 3 days from the Doom clock, but on this save, I picked the atmospheric processor 27, the upper level, and I think I already beat the upper level. And on purpose, I'm picking only 4 Marines because they're really high-level Marines. And I picked the most primitive weapons, the pulse rifle, instead of the large rifles, or the heavy rifles. I'm going to find an alien and purposely walk into it up close, pretending I'm not aware of them being there, okay? Okay, just gotta find one. Okay, we got one walking up here, so I'm just gonna... But the good thing is when you sprint, you're actually not reacting to it. So I'm gonna simulate me just bumping into one, having no idea that it's there, okay? Again, now imagine you wouldn't have that information. Right. Pressing pause. Imagine you don't have that information about that thing being completely safe except for one alien. Imagine the gameplay intensity you would have stepping into that door, not knowing if there's something in here, something in here, something in the room over here. You would check every corner, you would visually inspect the game, and most importantly, you would listen to the game world. Maybe you hear like a large crowd of aliens moving on metal floors around the corner. Maybe you even don't want to peek around the corner because you know what's around there. Imagine the gameplay intensity you would get from that. Okay, I'm going to sort of run into the alien. Okay, now I found it, now I'm shooting. See? Now I got 1 or 2 swipes off, but I got Marines with a lot of hit points, okay, so they only lost minimum amounts. But imagine this is early in the game, like the first map after the prologue. You have level 1 Marines, you have barely no armor, barely no hit points. If a single alien gets close, they can chop your squad down really hard. They could maybe kill or down a Marine even. Okay? Just gonna run. And stop. Let me see. 2 swipes. You see, if you allow aliens to get up close to some amount, they can do a lot of damage. Okay, and I'm just gonna simulate it one more time for the video. Just gonna run around and just provoke him and stop now. Now I have to simulate the alien actually getting close because late game Marines are so powerful the aliens can barely touch you. See, now this Marine lost already 3 health points, half health points. Now, in level 1 and level 2 Marine would have been down already at that point. And see, and all it took was 3 or 4 aliens getting close enough. And that's the thing that you get early in the game. When you don't know how the game works in Dead Hills, when you make these mistakes as a new player, you run away from aliens, you notice, okay, when I'm sprinting, I can't shoot. You don't pay attention to the motion tracker that much. Then you get that gameplay intensity. And that's what it basically is about. Creating more intensity with less aliens, instead of requiring large masses of aliens to break through your sentry walls. Because that's, I think, what the alien movies are about. Because the sentry guns, they are part of the movie, but they're not the only dominating part in the second movie.